Hello, moviegoers, and welcome to another edition of Have You Seen It? I'm your host, Denise, and before I get into my review this week, I've got to tell you who my favorite actor is. My favorite actor this week is Cate Blanchett. She has made many movies, as we all know. But a couple of my favorites are the movie Carol, Notes on a Scandal, and the mini-series or limited series Disclaimer that was on a streaming service. She has such an incredible range, and she is an Academy Award nominee, and I'm not sure how many she has won. But she is my favorite actor this week, Cate Blanchett. All right, folks, I'm going to get into my review. And my review is the movie Sarah's Oil. It stars Nia Desire Johnson, Zachary Levi, Sonequa, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Martin Green, Mel Rodriguez, and a lot of other folks in this movie, but those are sort of the main characters. And in this movie, it is set in Oklahoma in the early 1900s, and Sarah, this young child, 11 years old, Sarah Rector, became the youngest millionaire in the nation during that time. It is inspired by a true story where Sarah was given 160 acres of land. It was given to her via her ancestry. So this land was on Indian territory in Oklahoma during that time. And, 160 acres was quite vast. And so as an 11-year-old child, she's kind of wondering, what do I do with this? I've never received a gift, if you will, of this magnitude. What do I do with it? Well, one thing that she believed, and she believed that there was oil underneath this barren land. And she believed it deep in her soul, deep in her heart, that oil was underneath this land, that she told her family, and she said, I believe that there's oil here, and I'm going to benefit from it in some way. And of course, she, her family's like, listen, it's just grassland. There's really nothing here. But, if you want to believe that to be true, fine. Well, fast forward, she does believe that this is true. And she sets out to find oil companies, and there were several in that region that would drill for her to find this oil. Now, of course, people are shooing her away and, thinks that she's basically out of her mind for doing it. But she does find someone who is willing to speak on her behalf to drill for oil. And so once she actually gets someone to come out to that land to drill for oil, they make a deal. She's a very bright child, very smart, very witty, quick-witted, intelligent, knows the law and knows her rights. And that's one of the things that helped her in this quest, if you will, is that she stood up for herself. She stood up to adults. She was fearless and she knew her rights. And that was very important because as an 11-year-old child, of course, she could have been taken advantage of quite easily, but she knew what she was talking about. And so when someone decided, an oil company decided, okay, if this is what you believe, we'll go out to your land and we'll set everything up and we'll even have a formal contract, and that was signed and sealed, delivered, and they had a time limit. We will drill for 6 months and see what happens. She agrees. At the halfway point, nothing happens and they bail out. And so they even bail out and say, this is bone dry. There's nothing here. You can even keep the drill. You can keep all my equipment. I don't want it. I'll move on and, drill somewhere else. But I can do this in other places and be more successful than try to help you. Well, fast forward, with the help of a gentleman who is quite a charming, sweet-talking, nomad hustler, if you will, in his own right, he, agrees to help her in this venture. And so they form a relationship and a friendship, and he, forms that relationship and bond with her family and so forth. And fast forward, hello, we have struck oil. Well, of course, then the people who thought that her land was not worth anything, now they want to take it back. And so you see corruption, you see manipulation, you see lying, you see stealing, you see cheating. And all of this is because you have something that is of value and I want it, and I will do whatever I can to take it. So those are the things that she and her family had to deal with. And the individuals who realized that, hey, we can make a lot of money with this land. If we take it from this child, we will take it by any means necessary. So it was that type of situation going on. So she, feared for her family and her life, but still stood her ground and would not allow her land to be taken from her in such a corrupt manner. And so that is basically the story of what she has to do to keep what is rightfully hers. She had papers, she had deeds, she had everything. It wasn't just word of mouth. So I really enjoyed this film. I enjoyed the young lady that played Sarah. She was precocious. She was just a joy to watch on screen. I don't know how long she's been acting, but she just played her role so well. She was just very entertaining to watch. And so I encourage you to perhaps Google Sarah Rector to, learn the history. I was totally unaware of this. So there is a history that, has not been told, or at least I had never heard of it. The movie has a running time of an hour, 43 minutes, but it was well worth it. I think they kind of, put it in a nice little neat package in that time. I don't think it needed to go on too much longer than that, but it is a nice film. It's a family film. I think families would enjoy it, and a nice history lesson for young children as well. So that is my review, Sarah's Oil. All right, folks, I'm going to jump into my Nailed It. And my Nailed It this week is Ray Walston, the incredible Mr. Hand from the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I couldn't decide on which scene was the funniest with him, especially the scenes between him and Sean Penn's character, Spicoli. But I chose, at the end of the day, I chose the pizza delivery scene. Even when I was reviewing it again for my Nailed It, I was still laughing hard. That movie, that coming of age movie, was really one for the ages. It is a classic. So if you have not seen it, or if you've seen it and you want to go back and watch it again, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Ray Walston as Mr. Hand is my Nailed It. All right, folks, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like button. And remember, I am available on BlueSky at HYSI. All right, moviegoers, you know what to do. Until next week, I need you to see a movie because I'm going to see a movie. Until next week, bye-bye.